Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd. So, we are here in this time, in the last 10 days of Ramadan. It's supposed to be a happy time, but it's Allah's destiny, Allah's decree. That this is, He gives us life and He takes life away. Life comes from Him, as we say, إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Verily, we came from Allah and we are going back to Allah. So I just wanted to, this is terrible time. Some beautiful children lost their mother. All of us lost someone in the community who was very dear to us. She was a pillar of the Jersey City community. She was someone who was loved by everyone. She was my mother's closest companion and friend. All of us are mourning right now. This is a state of shock. And the way it happened in such a short period of time, this is Allah's decree. On top of a pandemic, on top of the situation we're in, all our hearts are crying right now. People are calling us. This is natural. But I wanted to share some reflections on her life. We are mourning for the people who are watching the passing of our dear sister, Nur Jahan Alam. I wanted to share. Everyone who knew her, she was the light of their life. And if you look at her life, it's amazing. I want to share 3 things from her life. One thing is that everyone loved her. There was no one who met her who did not love her. From family to friends to people who knew her in the masjid. And this is something amazing. When you have that kind of universal love for somebody, it's very rare. But you have to realize that comes from above. As Muslims, we submit to the decree of Allah. This is Allah's destiny. But even that love, it came from Allah. There's a sound hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari where the Prophet ﷺ says that when Allah loves somebody, then He calls Jibreel, Nada Jibreel, and He says, "Oh Jibreel, Inna Allah yuhibbu fulan." Allah loves such and such a person, and Allah commands Jibreel to love that person. Then Jibreel comes to the heavens and he speaks to all the angels, Ahlus Sama, and Jibreel announces, "O people of the Ahlus Sama, the angels, Allah loves such and such a person, all of you love that person." And then the angels descend to the earth and they plant the love of that person in people's hearts. So when you have this kind of love, it's very rare. Every single person universally loves somebody. It comes from above. It comes from Allah loving that person. We really believe Allah Azza wa Jalla loved our sister Nur Jahan. That's why everyone loved her in this earth. So this is something you should be inspired by. It's something that should give you hope. All these are decisions of Allah. But Allah loved her, and now it was time for Allah to take her back. The second thing that people don't realize about her, and everyone who knew her, she was someone who was a peacemaker. She was involved in something most people are not involved in. Something so precious. It's called Islahin Bayn al-Nas. This is something in the Quran. Allah says, أو إصلاح بين الناس ومن يفعل ذلك ابتغاء مرضات الله فسوف نؤتيه أجرا عظيما. Allah says, those who make peace, those who walk this path of rectifying, reconciling between brothers and sisters. And that's what she did in her life, making peace between people. Anyone who was in trouble, she was there to help them. Anyone who had trouble between relatives or family, she was there to help them. Allah says, whoever does that seeking the pleasure of Allah, we have prepared for them a tremendous reward. This idea of making peace, all of us can testify to that. I can't remember how many times my late mother was mad at me and she would get involved and she would try to make peace, and she was so happy when we would rectify and mend. She had no ulterior motive. She had no other interest. It was ibtigha mardatillah, as the verse says. She really was someone like that. Allah says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. Allah says all the believers are brothers. So make peace between your brothers and sisters. And at the end of the verse, Allah says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ, so that you may have mercy. So we believe she lived her life like that. Right now, Allah is having His mercy, showering His mercy upon her. May Allah give her His mercy. This was her life. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, أَلَا أُخْبِرُكُمْ بِأَفْضَلِ min darajat as-siyami was-sadaqati was-salati. The Prophet said, should I tell you something that's better or higher than praying, higher than fasting? This is the month of prayer, the month of fasting. She did all of that. But what's higher than fasting and charity? He says, Salahu dhatil bayn, Salahu dhatil bayn, making peace between people. And that was her life. Not only did she fast, she prayed, she fulfilled the rights of Allah, but she was someone who rectified between people. And that's amazing. That's something very few people are like that. So Allah testifies to people who do that. We all know she did that. And we have expectation that Allah is preparing for her a tremendous reward. And the last thing about her, one of the things we all know, anyone who knew her, they knew her character. They knew her infectious smile. They knew how she was happy all the time. And she made people happy. And wherever she was the light of the gathering. And this is something, it's called akhlaq. And this we know is the heaviest thing on the scales. Right now, she needs deeds on her scales. She's in the period of transition of her life where now her deeds are being presented. And this is, we know the Prophet ﷺ said, this is the heaviest thing on the scales is good character. And she definitely had good character. So all these things are amazing. When you have someone like this, someone amazing like this, then you know Allah is preparing them. And if you reflect over her last few days, we believe Allah was preparing her for what was to come, to take her back. This, you know, Allah gave her as a gift to us. And now it was time to take her. But if you look at what happened the last few months, Allah was getting her ready. He gave her the gift of Umrah. She made Umrah a few weeks ago, purifying. Allah was getting her ready, cleaning her. She had no sins, we believe. She had very few sins. But Allah was still preparing her, purifying her. He gave her the gift of Umrah just a few weeks ago. And then He concealed this illness. She had this terrible illness that must have been there for quite some time. But He concealed that from her so she could live a normal life in the last few weeks. So He gave her the gift of Umrah. Then Allah knew that she was going to not be able to fast in Ramadan. So she fasted 15 days of Sha'ban straight. That's an amazing thing. Allah knew she wasn't going to fast in Ramadan. So He gave her Sha'ban. 15 days of Sha'ban. Fasted straight. And then Allah was purifying her. That wasn't enough. Allah wanted to take her back as Shaheed. He wanted to give her the reward of Shaheed. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Al-mabtunu shahidun, wal-mat'unu shahidun. He said the one who dies of a stomach ailment is a shaheed. And her main problem was this cancer that spread in her abdominal cavity. So she is shaheed according to this hadith. And not only the first part, there are two types of shaheed. Second is the one who dies during a plague, during a pandemic. And we believe, if you look at all the hadith, the Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the one who's patient during the time of a plague, that person has mithlu ajri shaheed. He has the reward of a shaheed. And the scholars say, even if he doesn't die of that illness, and this applies to any type of illness, so she's getting multiple levels of reward if you look at her life. And all this from the plan of Allah. It's from Allah. Allah is preparing her. He's taking her back. But imagine you have a chance to go back. You know, you can go through these steps of purification. And not only that, Allah saved her for the month of Ramadan. He saved her for this blessed month of Ramadan. What a great blessing it is to go and meet Allah in the month of Ramadan, the month of Quran, where the fasting and the Quran will intercede for you. Not only that, He saved her for the last 10 days of Ramadan, after one of the odd nights of Ramadan. So this is all something that should inspire you. This is, all of us are on a journey back home. Where we live now, this is the reality, like kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. All of us are going to pass. But all these people that Allah chooses and He takes in this best way, this is a great example and a hope and inspiration for all of us. And one day we are going to go back home and meet them. So for the family, for the beautiful young children who are grieving, know that, you know, this is just a temporary step. One day you will meet your mother again. Just like the Prophet ﷺ, he lost his mother as a young child. Just remember that. The Prophet lost his mother when he was younger than all of you. And he lived his life like that. This is the decree of life. No one likes it, but we submit to the command of Allah. That's what being a believer is. We know there's a greater plan in place. You know Allah has a greater wisdom and a mercy for all of us. So we ask Allah to bless all the friends and family, grant His sakina to us, and to make this transition of our sister Nur Jahan with nothing, with barakah.